Today we will take a closer look at how giving unsolicited advice is an entry point. It is a subtle, covert, deadly weapon dressed in an outfit of goodness, help, care, kindness, empathy, and the like. That way, you have no way of defending yourself without looking evil to yourself and to others for attacking something that appears so good. Because it looks good, the covert attack won't be recognized by others. Only your reaction to it will be seen, and it will look like you are the one attacking. That means you will automatically be seen as the abuser, and an army of people blind to this covert but extremely damaging warfare technique will rise up. They will defend the one who is actually the covert abuser, and they will attack you, the one who has just been covertly abused. They will believe they are fighting for a good cause, and an inverted reality is created. And it is very easy to create false abusers. This is exactly what the N-world is built on. Now false abusers are being created through the concept and language of narcissism. The only thing required is to abuse more covertly than the majority is able to recognize. People will then be exposed as narcissists, by narcissists, who now use the lingo of narcissism, presenting proof in the form of reactions to their covert abuse. And those reactions look exactly like the abusive behaviors that are described as narcissistic. That is why I want to teach you how to recognize N energy and N consciousness, so that you can be validated, able to leave the N world, and free yourself from inversion, superiority, and inferiority. Only then can you live inside your human bubble, where such things no longer concern you, because they simply don't exist there. Otherwise, it becomes very confusing once these concepts start being used in an inverted way. Can my work be used to abuse someone? Absolutely. All it takes is for it to fall into an N mind, and then be used by N consciousness as a tool. Distorted, twisted, and turned into a weapon. I have no control over that. But I share this work for those who truly need it, for those who are seeking freedom. When I first started to recognize the N tricks in conversations, being hit with unsolicited advice was one of the very first things I noticed. Advice is something people perceive as an act of kindness, care, or help. And because of that facade, it can be so easily and effortlessly used as a heavy weapon, one that no one sees as such. Even the person who is using it is deceived. That is the most tragic part. It deceives your own perception. It attacks your subconscious, inserts a self-distracting program in you, and at the same time deceives your conscious mind into an inverted version of events. It creates cognitive dissonance, and cognitive dissonance is a portal into the prison of your subconscious, into a prison of your true self. Your conscious and subconscious are split. You are tricked into willingly agreeing to enter and play by the rules of the N reality, by trusting the false physical universe and its programming in you, while dismissing the real calls from your subconscious. Your subconscious, the best part of you, then becomes a victim of your conscious mind, which has now been taken over by N perception and starts to attack it. It is a system of self-destruction, distracting the very part of you that tells the truth. And as you can see, there is an N fractal within you as well, in many forms and on many scales. We all carry that. Often people feel entitled to give advice. That entitlement was programmed into them. They cannot see that it has nothing to do with kindness or help, it has everything to do with superiority. By giving advice, they keep themselves in a higher position and help themselves feel superior. It is a way of setting up a hierarchy and ensuring it stays in place. And if you ever try to give them advice, they feel offended, humiliated, and abused. Because in their perception, they are in the superior position and you are in the inferior position. In their view, it is simply immoral for you to advise them. That is how N-world operates. Advice there is very different. It uses the same word, the same concept, but the energy behind it is entirely different. Have you ever recognized being abused through advice? Or maybe you have advice abused someone unknowingly and are only now realizing it? You can let me know in the comments if you wish. Being in fixer or helper mode often ends up in unintentional advice abuse. It's not something you can fully control, it is a survival mechanism. It fades away only as you heal from an energy infections in you. If you recognize this pattern in yourself, just notice it. Forgive yourself. then simply try not to repeat it. There is a structure to who is allowed to give unsolicited advice in the N hierarchy. For example, in the main trend, older people feel entitled to advise younger people, but not the other way around. The other way around is seen as rude. That entitlement makes them break boundaries, abuse the younger, and yet believe they are helping. And when the advice is not welcomed or not acted on, they react with hurt or anger. They then abuse, they attack, and they feel justified, because they do not see the situation through human perception, but through N programming. This creates a third voice, an artificial voice, that supports them. And in most cases, onlookers are conditioned to recognize that entitlement too. Their perception then becomes another prison for the abused person, because they validate the perception of the abuser. The real abuser becomes supported, and the real victim becomes isolated. The false abuser is created. The real victim is left alone. The crowd truly believes they are fighting for good alongside the advisor. They all feel hurt by the actions of the one who dared to resist the advice. So the person who didn't want that piece of advice, which they were forcefully fed with, expected to show gratitude for, and expected to confirm their inferiority in, ends up doubly abused. Because the general programs running in people's minds make them automatically fight against the false abuse. That means they protect the real abuser, while abusing the victim even further. If the victim does not recognize the abuse and instead accepts the imperception of those around them, they betray and imprison their true self. They do this in the name of fitting into the N world and holding on to connections with N people. They then become blind to the same abuse happening to others, and they cover up N crimes, because they themselves are now part of the N mob. They hold their true self prisoner inside their own prison of N self. The most common form of advice abuse happens between parents and children. That abuse, in truth, has nothing to do with actual help or care for the child. But parents believe with all their heart that it does, because they are working on N programming, N beliefs, and N consciousness. And they are validated by everyone they talk to, every book, every story, every TV program, and most powerfully, by religions. It is very easy to be deceived. If awakening ever happens, and they touch H consciousness, they finally see what they were truly doing. But until then, they remain in N consciousness, convinced they are helping. And deep down, I believe people know. They know the crimes they committed, and continue to commit, because the system was set up that way. They keep supporting the N world, because as long as it rules, they are protected. Their crimes are covered. Their narrative is the winning narrative. But like in every oppression, once the oppressor falls, everyone who took part is expected to pay, even though they were set up into it. Advice abuse exists because of deeply rooted entitlement, authority, and superiority of parents over children, often not just their own children, but others as well. It is entitlement through age. Sadly, in most families, most conversations parents have with children are not about seeing them as they are, but about shaping them like clay. Children are treated as something to constantly mold. And parents are also imprisoned in how they are supposed to behave. This feels like the safe way, the accepted way. But in reality, it is deeply twisted. And parents are also imprisoned in how they are supposed to behave. This feels like the safe way, the accepted way. But in reality, it is deeply twisted. That will be it for today. I will talk about advice abuse much more in the future. This is just part 1. Thank you for listening. Take care of your true selves.